Okay, so I want to show you a tool that I've created. I think that you'll find it really useful. I already find it super useful. Um, and so basically, what it does is it's to help you work out your optimum risk level of your account. So uh, in terms of you know profitability versus risk. So the risk of blowing up your account more specifically. So uh, you enter your details into the grey boxes here, and I'll make this available free for everyone. I'll put it in the link in my description. So you would enter your details here. So, for example, if you're risking 1% of your account, that's 1% there. Your batting average, let's say it's 50%. Your risk return per trade. So let's say that yours is like, I don't know, 1.5 or something like that. And your number of trades per day. So that's actually not mine at all. but, then at what percentage would you consider your account to have been blown up? So if you've lost 25% of your account, I would consider that blown up for several reasons because um, your buying power would be reduced, and more importantly, I think that what this doesn't do is it doesn't take into account the psychological implications. So if I'd lost 25% of my account, I think that I'd find it really hard to trade objectively from then on. So to me, it is totally unacceptable to lose 25% of my account. So in that, I've put 75%. Then all of this blue stuff is the automated section. So I can see that through that system, my estimated daily profit would be 1.25%, which is phenomenal. If you can pull that off, that's basically unlimited money. If you're doing that compound, then over the course of a year, you must be making, I don't know, 1,500% or something like that. Then you don't need to worry about that. You don't need to worry about that. Probability of blowing your account instantly, basically. So that's losing every trade in a row until your account is gone. Then there's the probability of the rest of it. So there's several ways to blow up your account, basically. So over here you can see you don't need to worry about this too much, but I'll just run you through it just to explain what's happening. So one way to blow up your account would be to lose 25 trades in a row. Another way to blow up your account would be to lose 26.5. That'd actually be 27 in real life, and then you'd win one on the way down, or you could lose 28 and win two on the way down, or you could win, and so on. And this is basically working out the probability. So of all the scenarios in 25 trades, there's only one that would result in you blowing up your account in that first scenario. So that means that the result is, 1 over however many scenarios there are. So that's worked out using factorials. And then you can see it on the way down, it becomes sort of less and less prevalent. So I've stopped at 20. You could, in theory, carry on, but the difference is going to be so minute, I just don't see the point at all. And then what this tells you is basically, how often are you going to blow up your account? So this is telling me right now that every 35 years I'm going to blow up my account on average to 75%, which to me is totally acceptable as a risk, which means that I may choose, in order to make my trading more profitable, I may actually choose to be risking more because I think I can afford it. So if I change that now to 1.25%, I can see that I would become a lot more profitable, but at the same time, I'm taking quite a big risk because every 2.669 years, I'm blowing up my account, which to me is kind of unacceptable. So I would change that. Maybe let's see what it's like with 1.2. Every 5 years, it's still probably not great. 12 years, that to me is okay. I would say every 10 years blowing up my account like that is, that's probably acceptable risk to me. But you're going to need to make up your mind yourself about that. You could, if you wanted to, change that to whatever you like. You could consider blowing up your account as 50%. Obviously, that makes it a lot safer. I think there's a danger here is that you can use this calculator to talk yourself into taking risks that you shouldn't be taking. So I really, really strongly recommend you keep it at 75% because this is in a perfect world with a completely random chance of blowing up your account, of losing a trade each time. But in reality, that's not true. If you're frustrated or angry, you're probably going to lose more than what your strategy predicts. The reason that I think this is so useful is because you can compare strategies. So, for example, I'm going to go onto my main spreadsheet. I'll have a link to the whole thing so anyone that wants a spreadsheet can have it. There's lots of cool stuff, but I'm not going to spend too long on it. I've got lots of automated stuff on there, like confidence intervals and my Sharpe ratio and stuff like that. If you don't know what a confidence interval is, you should definitely check that out, because that will help work out whether or not you've got enough of a sample size to start scaling up your risk and stuff like that. And then, I've got, for my various strategies, batting average, all the information. But basically, the reason that you could use this in that sense, you can work out basically, if I've got one strategy where I don't get many opportunities in the day, like let's say I only get 2 opportunities in the day to trade it, but it's got a really good risk reward and I'm really accurate, like 60%. I can see my estimated daily profit and compare it to the risk that I'm taking. So, for example, in this strategy, that's looking like a pretty good strategy to me, actually. Yeah, if I'm risking 1%, it's basically telling me that I probably wouldn't get one at that. So I'm making 0.8% daily profit, but it's telling me that the time it would take me to blow up my account is almost non-existent. We're talking about 1 in a million years. So I can probably afford to up my risk. And even at 2%, which is pretty high, I can see that it's still once every 72 years. So maybe I want to even push that higher. That's probably too much. That goes down to 6.7% or whatever. Let's try 2.3. That looks about right to me. So I can say with that strategy, I can risk about 2.3% of my account on each trade, and from that I got a really nice daily profit. I mean, that seems too good to be true, to be honest, to me. And I'm still being safe enough that only once every 15 years I blow up my account. If I then want to work out, basically, if I'm maybe a little bit more lenient with my strategy and I take more trades but not as good trades, so let's say that I can do that and I want to compare it to a strategy where I could do 5 trades a day but my batting average is only 50%, then I can see that with 2.3%, that would be suicide. I'm going to last, 0.1 of a year before I blow up my account. So that's far too much. Even though the average daily profit is much higher, it's just too risky for me. So if I take it down to 1%, 1.5, something like that. No, 1.2, 1.1 maybe. Let's see that. No, 1.15. About 36. Once every 36 years, I could probably push that, ever so slightly more. And anyway, I can see that daily profit is, super high, 3%. I mean, these all sound incredibly high to me, but it just gives you an idea that you can compare strategies and allow yourself to compromise, basically. So, I mean, the reason that I've created this is because I've not seen anything online that's similar. Perhaps it does exist. If it does, let me know, because I'd like to know. It kind of amazes me that there's not something similar to this online. But there's all these people saying like, oh, you should never risk more than 1% of your account, never risk more than 2% of your account, all that stuff. But it varies so massively between these when you change these variables. If I change that to, if I'm doing 3R, suddenly it's gone from once every 36 years to once every 400 years. So, every part of your strategy changes it massively. Again, if I change it I'll change it back to 2. And then, if my strategy goes from 50% batting average to 55% batting average, suddenly my time in years that it would take me to blow up my account has gone up by 20 times. So, the whole like never risk 1% of your account thing, or never risk more than 2% of your account, to me is just crazy. It's so unbelievably oversimplified that I don't see it as being a relevant rule, really. It's just crazy. So I think this should hopefully give you a much more accurate representation of what your strategy is and how much you can comfortably afford to risk on that strategy. There are a few limitations to it. It's not a perfect formula. I'm not smart enough to work out how to make it perfect. The reason it's imperfect is because, for example, that is accounting for every possible combination of getting 1 win and 24 losses. Obviously, if you won the first one, that would mean that your account is up above 100% to start with, which means that it's not really it doesn't really work in conjunction with the rest of the formula. It could also mean that you could lose 22 in a row and you'd have already blown up your account, but then it's carrying on because this is talking about 25 trades here, 24 plus 1, so 25. Whereas if you lost the first 22 of these, you'd already have blown up your account. So there's a little bit of excess. The effect on the actual calculation of that is that it makes the calculation ever so slightly more conservative. It probably makes very little difference, but I don't know how to eliminate what would be sort of like, I guess you'd call them illegal sequences. I think that I've got no idea how to do it. If any of you are, maths geniuses or computer programmers and could work that out, that'd be awesome. But yeah, right now it's not 100% accurate. It also assumes that the amount you're risking is the same every time. So let's say your account is at 100% now. The percentage of risk doesn't scale down as you go down the account. It's simple. It also assumes that at any given time your account is at 100%. So whenever you're starting this, you're looking at your account. That is the 100% benchmark, and every time you lose 1%, it goes down in the order. Yeah, that's kind of it. There's a few other things. If you're an advanced trader, that's probably all I've got to offer you really. But if you're newer, I'll show you through the rest of the spreadsheet, and you can have my spreadsheet if you want it, and just a couple of other things that I'll show you that I think are cool, but probably not quite as useful as this. Yeah, anyone is free to use this. I don't care. I made it for myself, but it seems to be really useful, and I think it could help a lot of people manage their risk better. And I think it's just confirmation that if you are going to start using stupid numbers, like the risk from, let's say 1, that's once every 5,000 years. If I up that to 2, it's once every 2 years. If I do it to 3, it's 0.1 of a year. So if you're going to try and talk yourself into making stupid bets because you're betting 3 or 4% of your account each time, then hopefully this will snap you out of it and make you check yourself, because you see that you'll get enticed by the fact that this hugely profitable system, like, oh wow, that's 10% every day that I'm making. That only works if you can outlast your probability of failure. Effectively, if you've got a limited account size, that is impossible. And within 34 trading days, you're going to be dead in the water. So hopefully it'll snap you out of that. Anyway, that's it for the calculator. I'm going to move on to other stuff in the spreadsheet that hopefully you find useful. But yeah, if you've already got a really good spreadsheet that you use, you probably don't need to see this next part. And if you're experienced, the next part's probably aimed at people that have been trading less than a year or something. So there's a couple of things I'm going to show you. No, I won't be too long. But let's see. I think it's on the stats page. This isn't something really that is, I don't know. It's just, I use this kind of to remind myself what can happen really. So this is, I've generated 1,000 random numbers between 1 and 100, and that represents your likelihood of winning or losing a trade. Then I've entered in, this is very clunky as well, so it probably won't work for you. I just think it's interesting. But then I've entered in what likelihood I am of winning. So let's say I win 32% of my trades, which I think is that what it's set at now? Yeah. So I win 32% of my trades, I lose 48% of my trades, and I draw in 20% of my trades. It's basically using these randomly generated numbers to show what could happen, or what your results might look like. The interesting thing, and I swear these are totally random numbers, I've got them off a random number generator. But the interesting thing is that, on the very first month that I've tried this strategy, that is, it's a successful strategy. That is, this should lead you to being profitable. It's got a really high Sharpe ratio. You're making 164% per year in profit. That is a good strategy. But what can happen, what has happened completely randomly, I promise, is, the very first month, look, as soon as you start this strategy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losses in a row. How would you feel if you'd started the strategy and you don't know at this point that whether or not it's successful, unless you've got a huge backlog of tests where you can prove to yourself this is a profitable strategy. And this is why it takes so long to be a successful trader, I imagine, because you have to have that that backlog of tests to prove that your strategy is good, because otherwise you've got no idea of telling whether or not your strategy is good. Because look, this very first week, you're down 8%. Second week, you've only made 4%, minus 7% the third week, and the fourth week, minus 4%. That month, you're down 15%. Would you carry on with this strategy? Probably not, because, I mean, you'd be mad to, right? But that can happen on a great strategy. So I guess this is just you can fiddle with the numbers as well and sort of see what your likelihood of losing. If you go down the list, obviously you'll see that it starts to make money and it starts to prove itself. It's the same strategy. It's just completely random whether or not you win or lose according to your parameters of what percentage you win, lose, or draw. The draws, by the way, in case you're wondering, that's my strategy is to move up to break even at 1R. So that's why some of them are draws. Yeah, but that's that. I thought I'd show you because I think that can be useful to just prove, like, you cannot do 30 trades and then switch to live money and hope that it goes well. I mean, well, you can switch to live money, but just maybe start slow. Then I'm going to show you the live tests tab. There's also, I've got like my strategies and rules. I'm not a professional day trader, so I don't want to give out advice on like how to trade or anything like that. But yeah, this spreadsheet, I'm gonna put a link to one that you can download and you can empty it and all that stuff. Again, anything in blue, that's automated, so don't touch. There's loads of variables on here. You might think it's overkill, but I think it's mega useful because every time, I think the thing that I've not seen anyone talking about on YouTube videos about trading and all that stuff is your statistical analysis. To me, it seems, I can work out, because I've got the cap size and the shares outstanding and all of this stuff. I can, for example, work out, like, am I more successful on large cap stocks or small cap stocks? I can work out, of my patterns, which are the most successful. I can see, what kind of market conditions I'm most successful in. What that's the time frame. So 1 minute candles, 5 minute candles, and if my break even strategy. So moving to break even at 1R. What would have happened if I didn't do that? So I would have lost. So that's great. I made the right call by switching to break even, basically. Then, that's kind of for me. Notes. Oh, and then, a column for how well I think I stuck to my rules. So 3 is that I stuck to my rules really well. 1 is that I broke every rule out. Or, well, maybe 1 is that I broke a hardline rule, stuff like that. Yeah, so hopefully that's useful. These are my weekly totals, all that stuff. This is an exceptionally good couple of weeks, by the way, so don't get put off. I think that's unrealistically good. Long and short bets, all that stuff. Trades even. And then on the left-hand side of all of this is automated, so you don't need to touch it. Most of it you should understand. Sharp ratio, if you don't know what that is, you should look it up for sure. And then individual strategies, I can tell which of my strategies are the best down here. That's just, probably shouldn't show you that. Okay, that's pretty much it. The only thing that you might not understand that I think you should look up is the 95% confidence. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically to work out, is your sample size big enough to accurately reflect what you're probably likely to be doing in the future. So my average profit per trade is $10. Can say with 95% confidence that my real average profit over the course of, this is only a sample of 30. If I had, 1,000 trades, what's the probability that it would be similar to that average? I'm 95% confident that it would fall within $8.50 of $10, which means that I'm 95% confident basically that, 97% that it would fall within $9.48, which means that I'd be 97% confident that it'd fall basically be profitable, because it would either be between about 50 cents profit per trade or it would be $19.50 per trade. I'm 97% sure that it would fall within that range. I'm not going to go into that too much. You should look that up yourself, really. But that's just a brief overview of what's in my spreadsheet. And again, I'm going to make this available to everyone. Any questions, just ask me in the comments.